because I do know you still are trying to get your certificate of completion of for week 8. All right, let's jump into it. Just like I mentioned in the email, unfortunately, due to the limitations of how CGMA's website is kind of structured, I can't give you any more late submissions. So for week 9 and 10, make sure you do get your submissions in on time, as there's really nothing I can do. I can't allow you to have any more late submissions. It's just kind of a limitation of how things are. As when I gave you the one for this week, it said you've reached your limit now. So I just want to make sure you do know that and you are aware, because I do know you still are trying to get your certificate of completion of the class and everything. So for this week, I still think you're falling a little far behind on this class. We don't really have much of the environment built. I know you were able to kind of get your scene that you built in Marmoset from the kind of like intro to environment class into Unreal, which is always really great. Can definitely help speed up the process of building out environments when you're able to utilize kind of other assets from kind of previous projects. So there's nothing bad about that. That's always good. It can definitely help speed up your process. But of course, when it comes to all the other assets for this class that that you could have been building, we're still definitely missing seeing your rocks in your scene, kind of seeing the low polys, the bakes, the advanced shaders with all those advanced shaders on those rocks, trying to get them to look like a nice current gen game. I believe you're using speed tree for your trees. That's definitely fine, as it'll make that process a lot faster. However, we only have kind of really those trees and then a little bit of some kind of grass foliage. Even in this scene, we don't have a composed scene yet, which is always, something you really want to kind of focus in on. So that's one thing I think you should really kind of put your time towards in like these next 2 weeks, is trying to get your scene blocked out as much as possible. Don't try to polish up assets as best you can, because you can always really go and polish in those assets, polish up those details after the fact. However, kind of being able to construct your environment, getting feedback on how your environment is overall looking, those are the kind of feedback things that you're not going to be able to get once the class is really kind of finished and wrapped up. And those are the kind of feedback things that I want to be able to give you. But obviously, without being able to see a kind of environment that is being created with your organic elements, with your organic assets, it definitely becomes really hard. Because right now, we just have really this flat plane, and flat plane environments that are just all kind of on one single level are generally really boring. They can work for, some grass plains, but even then, a lot of grass plains and environments built with large grass plains have kind of nice sweeping rolling hills, because they give interesting silhouettes, interesting vistas to kind of look at. If we just take like a line and just draw right across the scene of your environment, we're just getting this really harsh line where it's like, okay, the terrain hasn't been kind of really sculpted up into any kind of cool mountains or rolling hills, or to really help define where this river is. And so those are things you're going to really want to kind of focus in on. I know you do have these like block mesh mountains in there, which are like, okay, cool. Those are, starting placeholders, but how are you going to blend your terrain into those mountains? How is it going to be kind of sculpted up in there? How are you going to use your larger rock piles and boulders to kind of really build out the feeling and sense that these mountains are breaking away into this terrain? As like a composition right now, we just have this one arch here in the middle, and that's really it. We don't really have anything kind of focusing our attention here on the arch at all. So if you are going to use this as, you're kind of like one of your driving focal points, which definitely is a totally fine way to go about doing it, you just want to make sure that you're starting to compose that in an interesting way. How are you going to lead the viewer into this gate here? How are you going to make it feel like, okay, maybe there used to be like a trail that kind of maybe like came through here. Maybe they traveled over the river. So there's areas where there is more dirt and like kind of a dirt trail that's leading to the river or leading to the gateway itself. And you don't just have grass, kind of just placed all around the scene. So again, the composition of your scene is the biggest one, the one that you really want to focus in on the most, more so than just kind of like creating any assets or anything, or just kind of like getting other assets in. I do think it is good that you were able to get your scene from Marmoset in here into Unreal, because it's always great to have it in a game engine, and it can benefit your scene creation greatly as a nice focal point. But of course, we still want to be able to see where that environment is going, where your overall scene construction is going, as that's always the hallmark of a good environment artist, is able to build out that world and not just build out some nice assets. Now, I know I mentioned to not really focus in on kind of like asset creation. However, for your grass, obviously there is still a shading issue with them. So in the grass video where we went over kind of utilizing the sphere to kind of like edit the normals of all the grass, in one of the recent updates of Unreal, you no longer have to do that. So I went over it in the live Q&A, but in Maya, all you have to do is just go to mesh display and then unlock the normals of your grass, and then just export those back out into Unreal. And that should solve a lot of the weird kind of shading issues that you're getting. It's just a feature that Maya now has Unreal has pretty much baked into its system. So, if Maya starts working really quickly, but basically Unreal corrects all the lighting issues that you would need on the grass, so you don't need to kind of hand adjust the normals. So all you have to do is just come over here to like mesh display on your grass piles, and then just do unlock normals. And then, you can just delete history and then export that back out to Unreal, and it'll fix the shading issue that you have there with your grass. And that'll definitely make the grass look a lot nicer, kind of fix up a lot of those issues. But yeah, we're definitely in the very final stretches of this. So make sure you're not missing any assignments here in these last 2 weeks, and make sure you are getting your scene kind of really just kind of like built out, get the scene in there so we know what it kind of feels like, as that is obviously the biggest part of this class, is building out this organic space. And that right now is the biggest thing obviously missing from your scene. So really want to see that, so we can give you some critiques and feedback on how you can kind of better your environment building in the class.